Is the mic muted?
For the agenda,
Is the mic
I'll make
muted?
the motion.
I'll second it.
Mike?
Been motioned and seconded to accept the agenda. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Singleton,
Aye.
Councilman Atkinson. Aye. Councilman Horn. Aye. Councilman Ramirez.
Aye.
Mayor Ramsey.
I also vote aye. Okay, we'll go to awards, presentation, appointments, and proclamations. We have none. Citizens' comments. This section of the agenda allows members of the public to address the city council on any item within the jurisdiction of the council. Members of the public, when recognized by the mayor, should come forward to the lectern, identify themselves, and use the microphone. Comments are normally limited to 3 minutes. In accordance with state open meeting laws, no action will be taken by the city council this evening, and all items will be referred to staff for a follow-up and a report. Citizens' comments submitted in writing to the city clerk by 5 o'clock on the day of the city council meeting shall be distributed to the city council and included on the record. However, they will not be read. Is there anybody that would like to address the council? Yes. Yeah, you can go first.
And everybody's going to be looking at me. Jesus. Hi, my name's Karina. I don't know if you can hear me, but the reason that I'm here today is because on Sunday, the big rigs out by the Poza area were being ticketed. So my husband drives a big rig, and he was parked out there. So I'm trying to figure out what is it that there's no signage out there that says that the trucks can't be parked out there. So I'm trying to figure out, is that something that I had looked online kind of to reference. I had seen that they needed approval by the Department of Transportation in order to not have the trucks parked out there because it's a state highway. I'm just trying to figure out, is there like a designated area for the big rigs to park without being ticketed? Because it's hard, and I know that there's a lot of truck drivers here in the city of Coalinga. So that's something that I wanted to see if it could be addressed, or if there's like a certain area where they could park without being ticketed or having to pay extra to park their rigs.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Well, can you give this lady right here, Shannon, your email address or your phone number?
Yes.
And then she can give you the information from there. We can't really
Yes.
respond tonight with you, but we'll give you a response.
Okay, perfect.
could.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Sir?
No.
Oh,
Mary Jones, I have a question about, and I guess you can't respond, but in my understanding of the Brown Act is that you can't take action on an item, but you can answer a question. And I don't know if that's erroneous, but I've studied the Brown Act. I've been involved with boards for 30 years, and it's always been that you can't take any action. That's my understanding. So if someone comes with a question, it seems that it would not be violating the Brown Act, and Mr. Lawyer could tell me if I don't have my glasses on, if I'm wrong, but it seems like something like eliciting information that's already a fact is not against the Brown Act. Just a point of clarification. Thank you.
thank you. Could you respond?
Yes, sort of incorrect. The council's not allowed to discuss something within their jurisdiction that's not on the agenda, regardless of whether you take action on it or not. But factual things, that's why they get referred to staff, so that staff can address them. If council wants to discuss it, we have to agendize it.
Okay.
You could answer the question.
Well,
Like that.
getting into, that's why we have staff do that, so that it doesn't turn into a discussion,
Okay.
which is, a discussion is not allowed, regardless of whether you take
Okay.
any action on it or not.
So I did it right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Sir?
Good evening, Robert Ramirez. I'm here to address an incident that happened yesterday morning as I was standing in front of my house as the garage doors were being removed by my brother and his helper. Around 9:20 a.m., John Self drove by in his city truck, stopped, then he reversed. He got out and came to my property. Asked what was going on and if I had a permit. I told him that the garage doors were being removed because installers were on their way and that I didn't need a permit for that. He attempted to go into the garage and I told him he didn't have permission to be on my property. He got angry and began yelling that he had the right to go wherever he damn well pleased and was going to red tag me. He was becoming aggressive, waving his arms, yelling and moving towards me. I moved back and told him to look from the sidewalk or I will call the police. He yelled back, "I have every right to be here and you're going to be red tagged." My brother told John to just step to the street to calm things down. John ignored him and lunged towards me with his finger in my face while yelling at me. As John aggressively charged towards me, I took a quick step back and fell, which caused injury to my shoulder and back. My brother's helper was walking towards me to help me up, and John Self got into his face. John began to argue with him. I couldn't get up, so I called 911. I was hysterical and very upset when I was speaking to the dispatcher. As I was on the phone with the PD, John got in his truck, started to drive off. As the police pulled up, then John Self came back. The officers didn't even take a report or ask if they should call an ambulance after I told him that I had fell back when John was sticking his finger in my face. Had it not been for John Self's aggressive actions, I would not have hurt my shoulder and back. My wife had to take me to the emergency room. Unfortunately, this isn't a one-time incident. I do have a timeline documenting at least 5 other times, one of which my baby was in my arms while John was in my personal space yelling at me. I spoke personally to Ron Ramsey when he was coming out of the post office minutes after an incident with John while I was cutting the grass growing in the gutter area on the Durian Street houses. We own a few other properties here in Coalinga, and I am now traumatized by John Self's actions. I stopped working on our Durian properties. I bought the fence boards to do repairs, and now with an injured back and the fear that John's aggression is going to get worse, I cannot do the work. So far, no action has been taken by the city manager, mayor, or the police department when I asked for help regarding this issue. I should be free to work on our homes without having to constantly be looking over my shoulder. I have every intention on seeking legal advice, as one should not live in fear of being attacked by anyone, especially city officials. So just know all this occurred because I was replacing my garage doors.
Thank you. Could you also give your phone number to Shannon? Sure. And thank you. Is there anybody else?
Hi, I'm Roger Tiffin. Just a quick comment in support of the city and the council on doing what they can to help us conserve water. I know I've been on days when you're not supposed to water and it's running down a gutter for 4 hours. I've heard a lot of people complaining that their water bill is really big. I've been able to cut mine in half and still live comfortably. So if you've got to do what you got to do, it's not right for me to take care of my place and somebody else use 10 times the water I have and them get by with nothing if our total amount of water is going to be cut back. So I'm just supporting you with whatever you got to do. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, is there anybody else? Okay, we'll go to, thank you, guys. We'll go to public hearings, which we have none. Consent calendar. We have 5 items. Approval of the minutes of October the 7th. Check register for 8/1/2021 for 8/31/2021. Number 3 is authorize city manager to execute a professional service agreement with Tri-City Engineering to provide on-call engineering services for state and federal funded projects in accordance with FHWA guidelines. Number 4, adopt Resolution 4047, approving the application for grant funds for the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Grants. Number 5, authorize city manager to execute a professional service agreement with SWCA Environmental Consultants to provide environmental services related to the Master Trails Project. Is there anything anybody like to pull? Is there any item that anybody in the audience would like to pull? Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the consent calendar or whatever you would like to do?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Ramirez,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Singleton,
Aye.
Councilman Horn, Councilman Atkinson, Mayor Ramsey.
I also vote aye. Okay, we'll go to item number 6, ordinance presentation, discussion of potential action items. ARPA funds workshop. Marissa?
Thank you. So this item on the agenda is to get public input, ideally, on what the community would like to see done with the ARPA funds. And so what I'd like to do, if that's okay, is if council has any ideas for ARPA funds, we can, Larry's going to keep a running tab up on the screen so that everyone can see. And then we'll go through, staff has a few ideas, and then we'd like to hear from the public if the public has any input. And then you're not taking any action, it's just gathering a list of items. I'll bring it back to you at a separate meeting with, I'll bring back the list with cost estimates and then also noting if it's something that's allowable with the ARPA funds or if it's not. And so it'll just be sort of an informal discussion. Like I said, if we can start with council ideas, move on to staff ideas, and then open it up to the public.
Could you kind of give us an overview of what we're talking about, actually?
Sure. So with the ARPA funds, we have about $3,183,000 to allocate. That money is federal money that came to the city due to basically like COVID relief. And it's very limited on what you can use those funds for. So there's a few different bullet points. One is to support public health expenditures by, for example, funding COVID-19 mitigation efforts, medical expenses, behavioral health care, and certain public health and safety staff. Addresses negative economic impacts caused by the public health emergency, including economic harms to workers, households, small businesses, impacted industries, and the public sector. The third is to replace lost public sector revenue, using this funding to provide government services to the extent of the reduction in revenue experienced due to the pandemic. The city of Coalinga doesn't qualify for that bullet point because of the formula that they used, so we don't have lost revenue because the year that they looked at, we had Measure J funds coming in. The fourth is to provide premium pay for essential workers. That was already done for city staff at a previous council meeting. And so there's one more remaining, which is invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure, making necessary investments to improve access to clean drinking water, support vital wastewater and storm drain infrastructure, and to expand access to broadband internet.
Thank you very much. Council, would anybody like to start? Councilman Horn, would you like to start down there and we'll just come up this way, if it's all right? Or anybody would like to just...
We need all this stuff on number 5, but the biggest thing right now is I think the water and sewer. The sewer plant, I know they're doing a lot of upgrades out there, but they're running out of room. They have no place to open up another pond or disperse the sediment that sits in the bottom of that thing when they pump it out either. So maybe, I know there's property around
Right.
There's the entrance gate, and that could be a possibility. I know some of it's sold next to it, but I don't think that one's sold.
So expanding the sewer plant property.
Yeah. And then the pipeline, the city water, the water line running from the water plant to all the stations.
Replacing the pipeline?
Hey, could you relocate the mic? I was unable to hear most of that.
You want me to repeat all of it? About the city water pipeline that's feeding all the stations? And at least get an estimate on what it's gonna cost to actually relocate and repair that line with a new line. And then the sewage, about possibly adding more property, because I've been out there a couple times and they've already expanded out and they have no place to go. And they need to expand a little bit more for them to be able to take care of all of us and the surrounding area. I believe Sequoia Packing is already taking care of some of their own stuff too, to make it a little easier on us, on the city of Coalinga. So maybe something to look into.
Okay.
Manny, do you have anything?
Yeah, I'm about the same, with storm drains, getting them replaced. I think there's a lot of neighborhoods that also gather up a lot of water in their neighborhoods, like cul-de-sacs. And in my district, there are a couple of ones that do gather up a lot of water. And when you get storms like what they're expecting, I guess now it's really, we need to get that a little bit going before it gets even worse in the future.
Hey, Eric, quick question for you. Do you guys have a way to see down into the storm drains and along the line to see if there's any repair that needs to be done, plugs?
We have,
You
a,
guys do
we,
that?
have, we have a camera that we purchased about a year ago that we can get in the storm drains, sewer lines.
You pretty much know where bad spots are there.
Okay. Yeah, I think, that's about it for me, yeah.
How long do we have to spend this? Till 2026, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, so
So it has to be, I think, accounted for by 2024 and then expensed by 2026.
just my opinion is that we sit on it, and we sit on it until we figure out what the heck is gonna happen with all this water stuff that's going on right now with the drought. If we're gonna lose all this water, 75% of our water, or whatever it is now, 51%, how much is it now?
We're still at about 75% of
75%.
historical, or 25% of historical, so they're allocated amount.
So if we don't have to spend it right now, just my opinion, I think we should hold on to it and see what happens with all this water stuff. If anyone has a bill like mine of over $600, it's gonna hurt the entirety of Coalinga. So we're gonna have to, in my opinion, try and offset some of those costs once the water goes up. And we have no idea if we're gonna get any rain this year, so it could get dramatically worse than it is right now. In fact, I'm scared for what's gonna happen next year if we don't get any rain. So my opinion is we just hold off on it and bring this back again in a year, but I follow you guys.
Thank you. Ray?
I agree. I mean, water's a hot topic. I mean, and if we can wait to see what's going to happen, I mean, I think that's a good idea. I mean, man, because at the end of the day, if we don't have water, none of these other things will matter. So, I don't know.
Okay. We don't have to spend it right now, but I think they were just wanting to get ideas on what we want to look at. And I want to see if we can eventually go to purple water, the purple water pipes, that's the, for irrigation and stuff. I don't know how much that's going to cost or anything like that, but I'd like to just throw that out there on that. And we do have internet problems in Coalinga. And I don't know what we could do about that, but I'd like to look into both of those to see what we could do eventually. Not right away, but if we could use that money to start something up, you know, maybe to look that way. I agree that we should watch the water right now, but I think we're doing some grants too to try to do that too, aren't we? Could you bring that up at all?
Yes, so we submitted a survey to the, I don't even remember who we did it. It was the State Water Resources Control Board, to see if we could get the balances, the past due balances on water and wastewater paid from some federal money that they received. And so they just opened the application yesterday. And so they're going to have a few webinars. The deadline is not for quite a while. I think it's like December 1st or November 30th.
December 6th, and the timeframe that they're looking at is during the COVID relief period, which is March through June of 2021. So only bills incurred and unpaid during that period of time will be eligible for this grant funding.
Okay. But I just wanted to give you guys a heads up because I had heard about that a little bit, and I wanted to let you guys know about it too. So everybody's on the same table on that. So, but I'd like to see us look into what we could do with broadband, you know, the internet and the purple water. I know they're both expensive, and but that would be a start. Now, is there anybody in the audience that? Sean? Or, no, staff, that's right. We're gonna go to staff now.
So in terms of what we're looking for, especially in public works, and you guys kind of talked a little bit about water infrastructure, we are reviewing our draft report for the water treatment plant based on the bond revenue that we've received. And so we've had some preliminary discussions with our engineer who put together the draft report and kind of identified the priorities that we need to look at in terms of our water infrastructure at the water plant. We know that the Derrick Reservoir is a primary piece of infrastructure that we have to look at, and we'll be able to fund that through our bond. And what staff's looking at is looking at these other priority projects that we can use potentially ARPA funds for. One of the main priority items is the trihalomethane reduction facility, which is a huge component of our treatment process at the water plant that has been under design for quite some time. And so staff is looking at that as being one of the priority projects for the ARPA funds to help offset some of the costs associated with the other projects that we have to expend through the bond. It's going to allow the bond money to go further. Two other projects that are in priority that we're looking at are the improvements to the filter beds 1, 2, and 4. And then also, they call them the traveling screens or the moss screens, which basically take a lot of the junk that's in the canal as it's coming in. You almost think of it, I mean, I don't know what the term you'd be looking for, but basically they're big screens that basically collect a lot of the debris and make sure that the water that's coming in is clear of that debris as it comes in from the canal. Well, it's a traveling screen, like moss screen, they call it. And so basically it just kind of trying to get rid of that debris as it comes into the plant. And these have been here since the beginning of the treatment plant. Same thing with the filter beds. And so doing these improvements will heavily increase the efficiency of the plant. And that's basically what we've been trying to do at that plant, is trying to make it more efficient with SCADA to be able to make that more just automated for our operators to focus on other things as well. One other item, and this is one that Marissa and I have talked about, we did during the drought, was the traffic message trailer signs, is to look at purchasing 3 of those at the entrances of town to convey public health messages, drought messages. It's a good way to get that message out to folks as they come into town, so that it allows you a lot of flexibility. It can be used for construction safety as well as public safety as well. So we're looking at those as well in terms of part of the request. That's all I have. Greg?
The police department has nothing.
What?
Yeah, I have two public safety items. One is installing a diesel exhaust system in the apparatus bay. And the other one is upgrading our outdated station alerting the system to receive calls.
Do we have anything in finance?
And then I just have two things that I wanted to bring up. One is council previously approved a grant for the Chamber of Commerce that has not been paid yet, but I believe it was $15,000 for the fiscal year. That is something that could be paid from ARPA funds rather than paying from the general fund if you chose to. And then you can use ARPA funds to do credits on utility accounts, but you can't do a blanket credit. So you couldn't just say like, we're gonna put $200 on every person's utility account. You have to tie it to COVID. So it has to be either people who are deemed essential workers, so they'd have to provide proof of that, or it could be that they suffered a COVID financial hardship. I wouldn't recommend that one only because we already have the utility assistance program that allows them to apply if they had a COVID hardship, but you could do something where if someone was an essential worker anywhere in the city, whether they worked at the hospital, the grocery store, anything like that, they would just provide proof and you can determine a dollar amount to credit their utility account.
Well, do we have anybody in the audience that has any thing? Sir?
Again, I'm Roger Tiffin. I'd like to see us do something towards water conservation. You know, my house was 12 years old. Everything looks good until I went out and measured the water coming out of my sprinkler heads and found out some of them were putting out twice the water in one area as another. So I went and bought a bunch of $3 sprinklers, and that made a drop in my water usage. Because you get one of them that's spraying off or it's worn out, the orifice has gotten a lot larger. Toilets. I went in checking my toilets, and I've got some of them that the water, while the tank's filling up, it's running down the sewer line the whole time. I just pulled a little 1/4-inch line and stuck it on the other side. How much could we do to conserve water? And I'm thinking, well, like with city property, with sprinkler heads. How efficient are they? How old are they? What could be done in our parks and recreation that might conserve water? Another idea, and I know it's expensive to drill a water well, is in excess of $600,000. If you drill one out 14,000 feet, a few miles that direction. But we've got our schools, the college, the sports park, all there together. Is there a water that couldn't be used for drinking water that would be adequate for the lawn with all those areas that are right together? Is there another water source and we could pull them off of our other? I don't think you could use affluent water on a playground, but possibly a water well or something else that would help shorten what we use coming off what we get from the state. Yeah. But I'm real big on conservation, and again, I got to do something with this running down a gutter all night. But I think there's a lot of people that might work on something if they knew how or had a little help. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience? Yes? Mary?
Believe it or not, I'm really not comfortable banging my own drum. When you look at what people say Coalinga needs, most of the time, family people will say, we need things for kids. I have a nonprofit that serves not just boys, not just girls, not just Catholics, not just whatever. It's for everybody, any age, any ability. We worked with the cerebral palsy people from whatever that, I always say the wrong initials, because it reminds me of something
UCP.
else. Yes, thank you. We worked with the school district. We worked with Dixie Wellborn. We worked with all sorts of people to provide a variety of services and enrichments for the entire community. Currently, we have Imaginarium. We don't have a home because your council decided that it was worth $6,000 to get rid of me. Basically, that was it. And I haven't been able to find another place. So we still have Imaginarium. We still provide music lessons. We still do a lot, but we cannot do the broader based things where we run whole entire courses where we can have 20, 50 kids at the same time, we can only serve like 2 or 3 because we don't have anywhere. But that's just one part of what Imaginarium does. I want to remind you that Imaginarium also puts out the newspaper. And we just announced that we're going to have to go down to just printing once a month because the advertisement has just fallen off because of COVID. No, you see a lot of ads in the paper. Well, let me tell you a secret. It's because I like you. I give you an ad because I'm not just going to print blank pages. Not everybody. Some people are paying customers, but not everybody. The third thing, though, that we do is we have the community garden. I think a lot of people forget that even exists. It's kind of fallen off because of COVID. We had a substantial group in. I had given certain beds to homeless people who wanted to grow their own vegetables and be self-reliant. And throughout COVID, that sort of tapered off. But they had tomatoes and corn and all sorts of stuff that they could just pull up, and I personally was paying for the water on a lot of that because it turned out that we didn't have enough money to cover it. But I want to meet the needs of as many people as we can in our organization. And it's become not just arts, but it's become whatever we can do to make life better in Coalinga is what we're doing. And I saw the chamber ask for money, and I thought, you know what? We do a lot for the community too. Like I said, on a broad, no one is excluded. Absolutely no one. If you were from Mars and you came in and you needed something, we would help you out. We had programs where we worked with gang members. There were some that were relocated from the back east and came out here to live, and we worked through the court system to mentor them. I mean, I could write a book on what we do when we're not scrabbling for survival. Because right now I have nowhere to go, and so my house has become Imaginarium. 3 pianos in the living room and 21 guitars, so you can imagine that. Anyway, so I would like to request that either an investment in a program like that. I suggest that one because it already exists. We already have programs in place. We've been tried and tested, and we have a relationship with the school district and all those other entities. Huron has a Boys and Girls Club. We've got nothing. And the Boy Scouts quit, or the longest troop quit. So we have a real dearth of stuff, and with all this, there's conflict with the whole COVID thing because some people are truly afraid of going out. For some people, it's such a political thing that they dare not go one way or the other because they don't want to be ridiculed by their friends. And it's a mess. So you have some people that are willing to do anything and some people who aren't, and a lot of people that are caught in the middle. The library's not doing their programs that are in groups because they don't feel safe. Or I don't know, there might be some other legal reason that they're not doing it. But I'm good to go. We have a place in the garden where we can have kids come out and work outside. That's not a problem. But I don't have funding to support the system. So I just would put that out there for a consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, is there anybody else that would like to add anything to this at all? Well, Marissa, we've got a list here, so it's quite a few things too. And I think that since we've had this tonight, people will probably contact you and maybe add a couple more, through emails and stuff too, so.
One thing that I wanted to bring up too that I completely forgot about, Mayor Pro Tem Singleton had asked us a while back to look into placing benches throughout the city in areas where people frequently walk. That would be an allowable expense of the ARPA funds because one of the things that they allow you to spend funds on are encouraging people to be more physically active. And so when we brought back that item, it was just information only on consent, and it was a map of where benches could go. But we didn't ask council to take any action because that's something that you could do with ARPA funds if you chose to rather than using general fund dollars.
Okay, he added that to the list then too. That's good. Oh, Mary?
Sorry, but what if Coalinga had a center that was a civic center like, and you're gonna say, why not just do it through the state one, Rec and Parks? You know what it's like to have control over what you're doing locally and not having to run things through the state. We all know what our state is like, especially right now. What if, like some other towns, I know they're larger cities, but this is an opportunity for you to develop one location, like buy something like the funeral place would be an absolutely fantastic place to house not just one thing, but have an application process and say, like, if you're a Girl Scout troop or whatever it is, it's a nonprofit serving the community, that you can have that at low, not free, but at a low rent, and so that there is a safe place, you know it's a good place, it's a central thing, you could go to your whatever it is, and yes, it's like I said, it's a lot like Parks and Rec, but you're dealing with everything locally, and you're going to get more bang for your buck because it's going to stay here. It's going to go to every single person who wants it here.
Like
I
a
just want you to
community
consider that.
It's like a community center.
Like a community, yes, a civic center is a community center for everybody in Coalinga. And like the library or a lot of other things, those are special districts. But like this is an opportunity where we could, without a lot of funding, just a good program. Yeah, we would have to look at a place. I don't know if you have any authority over, of course you do, buildings you already own like that one. But there's no reason, like, I really don't need 4,000 feet all the time. I just need it sometimes. And other times, I'd be happy if I just had an office. So if you had like one place and had other people, they'd have their own offices, but they'd have a gathering place where anybody can just on the calendar sign that up and use it. And then you do have, because we also hosted things for a lot of civic groups that you don't know about. The West African Culture Club or whatever they were. There's a Filipino group, I can't say their name. But we would have these groups that would come in once a month and they'd want to have big dinners or weddings or whatever it was that they were doing. And it was a place where everybody could do that. It's not something we need all the time, but we could do the plays for the kids. We could do dance classes. We could have the gymnastics or whatever without having to go through the state, because that's just a can of worms. And let local people have an opportunity to have a yoga club, for Pete's sake, whatever. So just another idea.
Thank you. Well, does anybody have anything else to add? Okay, this is just informational tonight then, and we'll put all these together. We'll send a list out to all the council members, so we all have this, and all the staff members, and we'll go from there, and we'll be bringing this back. Are we going to have another workshop, or how do you want to do this?
So it'll come back to you on a council agenda for discussion. At that time, if you want to make a motion to wait and not spend any funds, you can do that. Or you can prioritize the list but not take any action on starting any of the projects, whatever you'd like to do. But the list will come back to you as it is, but with notes about approximate costs and if it is something that could be allowable under the ARPA funds. And then from there, you can move them around and prioritize them.
Okay. Could you, Larry, could you add that last thing that Mary put on there on the bottom? Basically a civic center is?
Yes.
Yeah, civic center. That way we'll have it on there too. I thought it was on there, but I looked up there and it wasn't up there, so I want to make sure it got back up there. Okay, I think that's all, everybody. Do we have any announcements? Do you have any announcements?
I do. So a few weeks ago, we had a Ford Contour that the police department had auctioned that the council had authorized, and the funds from that were going to go to the Canine Foundation. And so I just want to announce that the winner is Anna Jones, and she bid $812 on the 1996 Ford Contour. So Darren will be contacting her to make arrangements for the sale of the vehicle.
Okay, and that goes all to the animal show, to the canine.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any council members' reports?
I think today's meeting was pretty interesting. I like what Ms. Jones is saying. Not all the kids are into sports, and I'm involved with the youth like crazy. And, I drive kids back and forth from here on to here to play sports and stuff like that. And some of them want to pursue sports, but they want to see something else. They want to see other events coming in. And I agree that we do need something like that, concerts, events, more like Oktoberfest, more getting involved. I would like to see the city not just be a business. I would love to see it involved with the youth, with a lot of more stuff like the what was it, mini council, the junior council. I'd like to see the Explore program come back for the police department. I was up north, and I think somebody had the mini firefighters, and it was great. It looked great. Something to get it. I know. Like I said, I'm involved with the youth, and not all of them like sports, but it seems that that's the only thing that's here, and I would like to see more. I actually would like to get with Fresno County and see what we could do about Los Gatos to bring that thing back. That's a beautiful place that a lot of people would love to see come back. I know it's probably out of our hands, but I would like to see what involvement we could do with that. Because, just seeing that place where I used to go, a lot of people used to go in, and it would be beautiful if we could bring it back.
I got one more thing, Ron.
Okay.
Okay, real quick to the Boys and Girls Club stuff. Is there any way that possibly Jasmine can get the information from like the last 10 years of all the groups that have tried to come forward for the Boys and Girls Clubs and find out why nothing ever went anywhere? Because I know there's been a few people that have actually come forward.
To my knowledge, since I've been here, there's only been one, and they didn't have funding, and so that was their issue.
Okay, anybody else have anything? Okay, I just wanted to remind everybody on November the 13th that they're going to have the free dump day with Mid-Valley. I think it's the 13th, right? Okay, I am right on that day. And today is Councilman Atkinson's birthday. So wanted to make sure everybody knows that too. So. No. I think, should we? Okay, I think we should.
You're the mayor.
Okay. Oh, you know what? If he won't stand up, we'll all stand up. Come on. You ready, everybody? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Adam. Happy birthday to you. All right. Would you like to say anything, Adam?
Yeah, we need to stop the singing because you're cutting into my beer drinking time.
And my culture is going through his quinceañera.
Okay, with that, do you guys have any future agenda items? Okay, we have no closed session, so this meeting is officially over.